Hey guys, welcome back to How to Roll Dice. I'm Josh, and today we're going to be assembling my new gaming chair, which is this guy right here. The Respawn RSP-110. This is a, I want to say $250 gaming chair on average, but for some reason the green color was on sale on Amazon for $100 off. It was about $150. So I actually picked one up for myself and my wife. Why green and why $100 off? I have no idea. Just a few days after we ordered, the price dropped back down, or I should say rose back up to $250. And all the other colors, the purple, the red, the blue, the black, the gray, they were all stuck at $250 to $275. Only the green dropped. I don't know why, and I'm glad we grabbed it. So I'm gonna go ahead and assemble this guy right here. Got the old multi-tool here. Gonna cut it open. Now I have already assembled my wipes because I sort of wanted to do a test run to make sure that this wasn't an extremely frustrating and difficult process, and it turns out it's not. It's actually relatively simple. The instructions are nice. The hardware that's included with it is pretty solid. I didn't feel like I was going to strip anything or shred any of the threads on the screw holes. And honestly, for $150, granted it should have been $250, but for the price we paid, I was happily surprised with the quality of the chair itself. Like I said, I've already assembled my wife's, so I got a chance to sit in it and feel it out, and it was very nice. Also, I don't know if this is a standard thing with gaming chairs, and I just have never owned a nice one, so I didn't know, but this one has a built-in footrest that actually extends from the bottom, and I feel like that's a pretty top-notch feature to have. I don't know if it's going to work for me because I am 6'2", and it doesn't look like it extends that much. But I'm happy to have it, and I'm definitely going to give it a shot once I get the chair assembled. It's got all of your standard features. It's got your lower lumbar support. It's got your neck support. Sort of got that racing seat look. It says that it is some kind of artificial leather, or I can't remember. Some of them, when I was looking online in the $100 to $200 range, some of them say genuine leather, some of them say faux leather, or they have other nicknames for it, but basically it's non-official leather. This one, I believe, said it was legit leather, and it does kind of feel that way to me. I know there are different qualities of leather, even within the spectrum of what's considered to be real leather. But even at that, this feels pretty premium. It's very soft. The stitching is good. I don't see any loose spots in the actual construction of it. Once it's all together, it fits really nicely. All right, for some reason, this one is taped in a far more aggressive manner than my wife's was. So let's very carefully take care of that. So like I said, this is my first legitimate gaming chair. Up until now, I've only ever purchased desk chairs from big box office supply stores like Staples or Office Max. And I've never really spent more than, let's say, $100. And, you know, you get what you pay for, which is, like I said, why I was a little weary about only spending $160 on this. But again, technically it's a $250 chair. I also love that the instructions are literally one page inside of a plastic bag. The front is just a graphic of the assembled chair. The back are the 6-step instructions. So I'm very pleased with that. On a scale of, you know, IKEA furniture, or if you've ever ordered from Wayfair or any of these large sort of particle board assembly furniture type companies, a lot of times the instruction booklets are overly complex and they stretch on for pages and pages. I remember one time we ordered a bed frame and the instructions were something like 16 pages long, and it was literally just a rectangular bed frame with a headboard. And I was completely dumbfounded because I've done technical writing and blueprint design before, and there is no reason to make anything that complicated. Either they're breaking it down too much into too many steps, or they're just complicating the design for no reason. I don't know which. I mean, maybe when you use cheaper material, you have to make sure to reinforce it with more hardware or redundant hardware, who knows? Get out of here. My cats are inevitably going to try to join in, but I'm going to do my best to keep them at bay, just so they're not in the way. I may break a little bit of a sweat here because we're finally getting to some summer weather here in Massachusetts. I mean, up until a week ago, we were still getting snow flurries, which is, that's just insane. I mean, we're in mid-May here, and even though none of it's stuck, it was still very strange to see. Another thing that makes the assembly on this chair pretty straightforward is that nothing that you take out of the box, or that you take out of the boxes, really seems alien. Everything that you pull out, right at a glance, you can kind of go, oh, that's the, that's the hydraulic that raises the chair, that's the control arm, or that's the, that's the seat rest, that's an armrest. Everything just looks like what it is. And so you can kind of already guess how it gets assembled just by pulling it out of the box and looking at it. However, the one thing that you do need to pay attention to would be the screws, because you get several different sizes for the screws, and they look like they might all be the same diameter and threading, but what varies is the length of the screw. Obviously, if you try to put a screw in that's going into a hole that's too shallow, it's not going to properly secure in. So this is the sort of tripod, although I guess that's more of a pentapod. And we've got the green caster wheels here. I'm not much of a person to nitpick over colors unless I have a real theme going on, which, as you can see down here, I don't. The chair that I was looking at, or I should say the color that I was looking at when ordering this chair was it was either the white or the gray, I can't recall. But again, for some reason, the only chair that was discounted by $100 was the green, and they had plenty of them in stock, so maybe they just overstocked them, and they wanted to get rid of that one specific color, which I guess happens sometimes. All right, so we've got our feet on there, pretty straightforward. Having sat on my wife's chair and scooted around a bit on the carpet, this is the hydraulic that raises and lowers the chair, just slides in there. I can say that the wheels do a great job. They're not sticky, they're not that hard sort of plastic on plastic feel where they're just grinding against each other. They actually feel like they might have small bearings in them. They roll very nicely. So I'm happy about that. I mean, overall, like I said, the design and the quality of this chair, just at a first glance, obviously, maybe it'll break down over time, and in 6 months I'll be losing my mind over this thing. But so far, the make of it seems to be pretty solid, and I really couldn't be happier with that. I mean, what else can you ask for? Good price, easy assembly, quality look and feel. Even get a sticker. Look at this. Nice whiteout Respawn sticker, which you probably can't see because it's on a white back. I may actually slap this onto my laptop because I like having stickers for companies of hardware that I've actually purchased to sort of show support for them, assuming it's a quality piece of hardware. There you go. Whiteout sticker. That might go on the laptop. So anyways, like I was saying before, literally one sheet of instructions. That's it right there. And we've already performed step 1 and step 2 by simply opening up the tripod, attaching the hydraulic pinned piston to it, and putting the caster wheels on. There is one more step in there, which, why do I feel like I'm missing a part now? Oh, this actually happened to me with my wife's as well. The box that the hydraulic piston was in gets a little misshapen in shipping, and the little cone that covers the hydraulic piston is actually stuck in there. That just slides right over like this and makes that look a little prettier. That's all that is. All right, so let's pop out the Allen wrenches that come with the hardware. Again, minimal hardware kit, very nice. Really nothing to complain about there. Don't know why my camera isn't focusing on it. Hey, camera. Focus. There you go. Hardware kit. I'm already getting a bit sweaty. 2 Allen wrenches. Usually you only get one. So they must be using some varying size hardware in here, or I should say they are using some varying size hardware in here. But that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. And it's nice that they include the tools. I know with these kits you usually get the tools, but believe it or not, I have purchased some furniture from various companies where absolutely zero tool or equipment is included. And that's just frustrating. I mean, they're already cheaping out enough on the build quality itself in most cases. To not include a cheap aluminum Allen wrench, that's just kind of a dick move. All right, so these 4 screws and washers, as well as the smaller Allen wrench, is what we're going to use to attach the actual mounting plate to the underside of the seat. And whenever I'm installing screws like this, I like to do a partial, sort of not fully tightened down, just barely hand tight, because you never know if your holes are going to line up properly. A lot of times these things are spit off of a conveyor belt, and if the tooling isn't done just right, you can have some misalignments, which will lead to cross-threading, and eventually, you know, if you ever have to remove the seat for some reason, you're going to have a hell of a time. I should say some of these components, like the headrest and the lumbar support, actually look like you can remove the foam insert. I don't know if that's because you might want to put in a lighter or maybe a denser foam insert for your personal preference. I mean, the material's not anything that you could throw in the washing machine or anything like that. I mean, it's like I said, it's either leather or a high quality faux leather. So it's not like you'd be actually washing the covering. So I can only assume the intent is to change the padding out. I haven't used it for very long, but to me it felt pretty comfortable. Once you get the positioning right and you get that lower lumbar support right in that spot in your back that you're looking to have it, feels pretty nice. And I'm sure after, you know, sitting on it for hours and, you know, editing a video or working in Photoshop or gaming, what have you, hell, whether or not you're sitting there typing in Microsoft Word, it doesn't matter. The difference with and without that support, I'm sure, is going to be noticeable. Okay, so we've gone ahead and we've attached our controls and our mount to the other side of our seat. Now we're going to put our seat onto our tripod. This here is the sort of free sliding leg rest that I was telling you about. It's not really mounted in a spectacular way. It's kind of just a couple of glider rods, but it's good enough. Doesn't feel like it's going to go anywhere. Once the seat's mounted, it can slide out, and then you can flip it over, and there you go. Nice little leg rest. I'm, like I said, still a little skeptical as to whether or not that's going to work for me with how long my legs are, but I guess we'll find out. So next we're going to attach the seat back to the actual seat. That just slides right in here. There we go. Now there's 3 screws that are going to hold that in place, and those 3 screws are L, and they include a lock washer as well as the remaining washers that we popped out for the previous step. And I will say this, if you're ever using lock washers, just keep in mind the washer is what presses up against the actual surface that you're screwing into. The lock washer goes between the washer and the head of the screw. A lot of people make that mistake, and I don't really know how. Yeah, hopefully you can see that. Come on, camera. My camera's having a real hard time, and I don't know why. So yeah, first thing on is the lock washer, and then the washer. And that's because what you actually want pressed up against the surface that you're screwing into is the washer. The whole point of a washer is to prevent the head of your screw from going through the surface and into the pre-tapped screw hole. The lock washer is just there to create a more solid friction between the screw and the hole. Okay, so let's go ahead and put these these down. I'm gonna take the first one. Now, I noticed this when I was putting my wife together. The seat back does tend to slide in a bit farther than you actually need it to screw it into place. So you have to lift it a bit to realign the holes. And I did have the screw go in crooked a few times before I got it just right. But once you get it just right, it's a little sticky, but you can definitely tell it's not cross-threaded. Once you know it's not cross-threaded, you can kind of turn away. And again, I'm only partially tightening these until I get all three in, and then I'll come back and tighten them as snug as I can, or at least as snug as I think I can comfortably, so that I'm not stripping the actual hardware. Like I said, this hardware does feel pretty solid compared to some other stuff that I've assembled, and I'm happy about that. But I never fully trust hardware for this type of furniture. You just walk down the hardware aisle at your local hardware store, pick up a couple of bolts of a similar size, and you'll notice right away they feel heavier and sturdier than any hardware you ever get with kits like this. Okay, next step, and basically the last piece of hardware that we're going to do, is we're going to attach the armrests with the letter K screws, and it even gives you some nice caps to put over the screws once you connect them, so that you don't just see bare screws sticking out of your chair. Another nice feature about this chair is when you recline it, and it does recline, I want to say it's like 170 degrees. It's not all the way back, but it's most of the way back. It's more than I would ever sit comfortably. As you recline it, the armrests actually are designed such that they adjust with you. And so it's not like you're leaning back and you're leaving your armrests behind, and then, you know, the only part of you that can reach them is your hand. They actually recline with you. So if you would normally have your wrist sort of in the middle of the armrest, like somewhere right here, that's actually going to be the same position that it ends up in even when you're fully reclined, which is pretty nice. Just keeping an eye on what we're doing for time here. Looking pretty good. I mean, any piece of furniture like this that you can assemble in under half an hour, I'm happy with that. Like I said, usually the layout for the assembly instructions on these, or the design on the assembly itself, is so overcomplicated or poorly executed that you can spend, you know, hours building something like a bookshelf or a small dresser. Though that's usually only the first time you build it. I remember when I was putting together the shelving for my wife's library upstairs, I had to purchase, I believe, 8 different, 7-foot tall bookshelves. And after I assembled the first, and I got through, you know, doing things their way, I kind of took a step back and looked at it and said, okay, that was all good and well, but I already know 4 or 5 different ways I can improve on that process. And so going through the rest of the shelf assembly over the course of the next couple nights, I basically ignored the instructions and just did it my own way, and it went pretty smooth. Now normally also I'd pick up a power drill and I'd just attach my hex bit to screw these in. But because I wasn't certain how durable the hardware was going to be, obviously now I know it's pretty durable, I always like to sort of do one test run before I start using power tools, because again, a lot of times when you're talking about particle board for standard furniture like shelving and bureaus, you'll drill right through that stuff. There's too much torque on your average power drill. Unless you have your torque setting really low, you're probably just gonna crush the screw head right into the surface that you're drilling into, and you don't want that. These caps that they give you to fill these screw holes, they're very weird. They're like a soft, gummy rubber, and if you don't put them in just right, they actually kind of just mush. There's no rigidity to them at all. They're like gum. Very strange. Okay, so that's the armrests on there. I'm gonna give you a quick example of what I was talking about. So right now it's locked, you can't recline. If I press down, I don't know if you guys, yeah, you guys can see this. If I press down on this lever right here, that allows the reclining feature. Oh no, I did it backwards. Up is unlocked. So if I go up, I'm unlocked. Now if I recline, you can see the arms move back with you. So I found that to be pretty nice. And that is the maximum recline right there. That's all the way back. So I'm gonna go ahead and lock that in position while I finish working on it. The only last two things to do are attach the neck support, which simply unbuckles and goes right around the top here. And buckles back into place. So you can see there, Respawn, nice little bit of branding. And I do like the use of the green accents. It's not over the top, but it's nice enough that, you know, you look at it and you go, oh, it's a green chair. It's actually mostly a black chair, but it's a green chair because it's got green accents. And then this is the lumbar support. Now there is a bit of a, let's see, if I recline this a touch, make my life a little easier. There's a bit of a leather strap, or flap, I should say, down here. And that's to sort of connect the seat back with the seat. But I did notice when I was assembling my wife's, I'm just gonna run these straps through these holes in the seat here, that if you undo that leather strap or flap, you can run the straps from the lumbar support right underneath it. And that also helps to hide those as well, which I like. I mean, it doesn't need to be perfect. You're gonna be sitting on it, so who's ever gonna see it? But I like to have things kind of tucked away and hidden like that. It's like doing cable management, except on your chair. And then we just adjust this by sliding it down to where we think it needs to be. I'm gonna guess right about there. And then, like I just mentioned, take those metal flaps, pull them under the chair, and they just Velcro into place right down here. Whew. And that is our chair, fully assembled. So, let me go ahead and raise that so it comes back to its upright and locked position. That lumbar support's a little low. That's a lot better. Okay. So, here's the chair here, neck support, right about there. That's nice. I can lean unnecessarily far back. I would never ever sit like this. This is absolutely ridiculous. It's kind of fun to spin, but it's nonsense. You would never play a game like that, or at least I would never play a game like that. As far as height adjustment goes, a little warm. It's not too much, you know, maybe 6 inches of travel, nothing crazy like that. This is a good height for me to be under my desk. I like to, I'm gonna lock this in a forward, oh, wrong. You lock this in a forward-most position. Yeah, okay, so that's like upright, Captain Kirk style. Let me scoot forward here. I do have a break in my carpet, unfortunately, which means it's probably gonna get stuck on that all the time. Yeah, this allows me to tuck in pretty much right under my chair, which I'm happy with. Lean back, good typing position. Yeah, so I'm happy with that. Let's try out the footrest. Sort of the final piece. Only comes out about a foot. Yeah, that's maximum length. So if I was sitting upright, yeah, that's not really doing much. If I reclined a bit, let's say, let's do about 50% recline here. Lock that back down. If I were to do this, that's not bad. I don't know if I really trust this. The amount of bounce I'm getting here, I'm gonna guess these are just aluminum tubes. They're probably even hollow. If they were steel, I would trust them a little bit more if they were reinforced some way. This is nice. It's kind of nice if you wanted to lounge and maybe read, or if you were on a tablet and you were just swiping away, that would be pretty cool. But I don't think this is a feature I'm gonna use that much. For the most part, I'm gonna be at my desk working. I like to be upright. I like that really firm, like, you know, just like up in your position kind of thing. Scoot back into place here. The armrests do come right up to the desk about here, and I realize you guys can't really see my desk right now, but I am at my desk. So this would be my, if I pull one of these, and I pull one of these. This is sort of my standard upright typing position right here. And that feels good. I like that. I feel like the support is definitely noticeable. Also, hopefully you guys can hear me because my mic is over here because I was working back there. But yeah, all in all, it's a very comfortable chair. The one feature that I feel like it's missing is the adjustable armrest heights. I wish I could go up and down like this instead of just having them track with you when you recline, which is nice, but I kind of wish I could also make them a little higher and lower. I'm one of these people who really likes to like suck into my desk and have it like pressed against my stomach so that my entire body is over the desk. I don't know why that is, that's just how I'm comfortable. But yeah, anyways, this has been my new, this has been my Respawn RSP-110 chair assembly. Ta-da. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you haven't yet, subscribe and set your notification bell to all. That helps me out. As well as feel free to set a like or a dislike and go down below and leave a comment. And I will see you guys in the next video.